versus Quest is more developer-driven, called VR or XR device. So it's a little bit different. One is more for user-centered. The other one is more for technology terminology. So yeah. I think my breath is very loud. I'm trying to.
do give it the little tilt. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I haven't performed before. It's not my first rodeo.
Cool. Yeah, 1 minute, and we will be start.
Sorry.
Today we won't have any visual presentation, but more of a Q&A with the XR industry leader. So. Okay, so time's up. So we are good? Good? Okay, cool. So yeah, thank you so much for joining our panel. My name is Dominic Wu. Currently, I'm the adjunct professor for Kenyatta College. Woo! Yeah, a little bit of advertising. Kenyatta College is the most forward-thinking college, community college. I know everybody was very happy. And the Menlo Park studio, right, XR studio led by Hyla, is demonstrating a really amazing XR apprenticeship. Definitely, check out Kenyatta College. Yeah, okay. So a little bit of ads. Okay, so today's, besides adjunct professor at Kenyatta College, I'm teaching coding for designers and artists using AI to assisting students doing vibe coding and also all the game prompt creation. And also I'm serving as one of the AI fellows for the Chancellor's office. Yay, thank you. Okay, so today's topic is called the rise of synthetic AI companions. So yeah, and it was my honor to invite a lot of my industry friends, XR leaders. So today they are the shiny star, and also they are the speakers, and we will have a lot of inspiring conversations between our panel speakers. So maybe we can start with introduction. We will start with who you are, what do you do, and what inspired you to be here today. Maybe let's start with Chris.
Thank you, Dominic, and hello, everyone. So happy to be here with you today. I certainly hope you're enjoying this Future Summit. My name is Christopher Lafayette, emergent technologist, humanitarian, founder of several different ventures here in Silicon Valley and abroad, and work with NVIDIA on several different ventures and Microsoft as well on AI. Have been in this space as an emergent technologist studying over 270 technologies. For me, the inspiration for being here is I am a community college dropout, and I don't recommend it for everyone. And I left community college to move to Silicon Valley, living out of the seat of my car, and I never thought that I'd be afforded the opportunities I've had. I traveled the world and speaking and lecturing at different universities around the world in the Valley as well, and having a really incredible sense on where we meet at the intersection of emerging technologies and humanity-first considerations of education and community development and safety and privacy and wellness and ethics and so much more, and trust, where the AI, along with the technology that we're adopting now, it's never been more important than ever. And I am an advocate for students to live on a bifurcated path when it comes to the career path, but also entrepreneurship. We're heading into a time of a trajectory of the AI frontier where we find ourselves now, where we're going under the most consequential, disruptive phase of AI and hyperscale that we've ever known. We'll never know more of a time like this, and when it comes to the human capacity of innovation, this is the last front of humans, of the nuclear, of the corpus of more human innovation that we'll ever know. At some point within an 8 to 9 month trajectory, not a year, 8 to 9 months, we will be competing with the machine species and humans that are with machines, agentic systems that will remain and will continue to be more autonomous than ever. I advocate for not slowing down, but for staying ahead of machine innovation, because machines will never be able to supersede the human code. And that is something that we are afforded always, and we must, as educators of teaching this technology, for what's next is staying ahead of the wave. I advocate for autonomy. I know the hands went up when it comes to adopting ChatGPT, Claude, Cursor, and a number of different models. We're studying over 1,800,000 models right now, and I advocate that everyone in education, every college, every campus in the world should develop and own their own autonomous systems when it comes to AI, because I would not want to be dependent on the future of education based on Sam Altman's intuition. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good luck, Mike.
I wanted to go back to the title, like the rise of synthetic AI. I mean, it sounds like a Transformers movie title. I'm a little nervous here. I'm Mike. I'm an experienced design technologist. I'm building Wizzo. It's the world's first AI adventure mentor. So I'm just essentially trying to gamify the person's journey by, seeking some good advice, hopefully, right? My reason for being here is I was once one of your students. I went through a lot of colleges, actually. I moved a lot. So my first community college experience was I went to Evergreen Valley College and San Jose City College at the same time, so it's driving back and forth. And then I moved to Santa Clara, and I went to Mission College for half a year, just right across. And then I moved to Boise, Idaho, and I was like, I didn't finish my associates, so I wrapped it up there at CWI, and then Boise State, and then came back here and got my master's at San Jose State this year. So all over the place. Yeah. And then, let's see, am I supposed to match his time, or is it your turn?
It's all good.
You do whatever you need to do there, Mike. Sounds like you got the full community college experience, though. That sounds pretty cool.
Too much.
Hi, I'm Robin Mulder, CEO of 3 Pound XR and 3 Pound Games. So we build cutting-edge games in 3 Pound. In the 3 Pound game side, it's cutting-edge spatial computing, XR, immersive technologies with AI, of course. We also have taken our tools, everything we've learned since 2016 of just building all these amazing immersive experiences, and we've gone to market with our tool set so that everybody can build these experiences without having to know all of the things that we know, object-oriented design, kind of like imagine what you want to do, type it into our AI assistant helper, and then it helps you build your experience, spatial computing and AI, immersive technology, whatever you want to call it these days. It's that broader umbrella of anything that makes something spatial. We also work with colleges and universities, so we've been doing a lot of, I spoke at Canada. Thank you very much, Dominique. That was super fun.
Yeah.
So I've been running around doing a lot of workshops to get students up to speed on our tool set, because this is a great place where they're going to get jobs. And I find this community college, everything that we're saying here, everything that we heard in the keynote is so important to get actual jobs for students. Because if they don't see the path to getting a job by coming to your class or coming to your college, there will be no more colleges. They will be all learned online. So I love the focus of this whole conference, and that it's about helping you get the tools that you need to be successful with your students, helping to draw in the students with the right type of content. Love it, and very excited about this next 2 days.
Cool. Yeah. So our speakers had a lot of experience, also the pioneer for XR emerging spatial AI expertise. So, okay, so let's go back to our first question. What's AI companion exactly? Or according to your opinion, what's AI companion?
I would say on a high level that one of the things that I want us all to admonish and to really kind of lean in on this on a very candid level is that the AI that we're interacting with tonight, that we're texting and this language foundational models and generative pre-trained transformers, is so rudimentary and so minimal compared to what it will be, not next year, but even December. I would submit to you that the AI that we're interacting with today is nothing compared to what we'll see this time next year. Not even with phraseology as AGI and theory of mind and more, but we have to understand the intent was never for us to sit around and to tap on these devices, but the intent was for us to be able to walk and to be able to live inside one of these devices. The intent is not to be able to communicate with what we'll call parametric or concatenative synthesis, meaning the speech of a model or the computer vision of a model that can see you and it can be seen by you, and at the same time not just see you but be able to understand your disposition. And this is what we call theory of mind, and at some point it will look at its own self and believe that it has a disposition. And so we call it self-aware. That what we're heading into is hyper-realistic immersive simulation or real-time augmented projection, that you'll come home and have supper with Siri face-to-face. That the AI that you're interacting with today, it's not just phonetic language that's post-inference, but it's going to have embodiment, caricature, disposition. It's going to be almost anthropomorphized. It will have head cavity, chest cavity, lower abdominal cavity. You can imagine seeing that. And it's going to be so not uncanny, but it will not be discernible to your human sensors or your human factors. This is perceptual science. That when you're interacting with these machines, if you will, they'll have extended long chain of thought reasoning, memory process, and it will have conversations and remember things better than what you did. It will remember what you had for dinner last night 2 years from now. It will be able to recite and understand your whole body autonomy. It will be able to understand things about you that you forgot you even said it to it, to be able to diagnose and assess, to molecular structure, on the protein structure. Right now, I'm looking at, I speak in front of many audiences, advise the White House and more different organizations, private and public sector. But what I'm looking at right now is the frontline workers to education to what's next in the frontier. It may not seem like that because maybe the dollars sense doesn't spell that out. But I assure you that right now, there are some of you in this room, I know what I'm talking about, that are hesitant and apathetic or apprehensive to adopting this technology because this technology is an apex predator. AI is an apex predator. It will take your job. It will disrupt. But as I asked an audience 5 years ago in Florence, Italy, what happens when the technology becomes more advanced than the technology is? What happens when the vibe code says to the vibe coder, I don't need you anymore? At some point,
Going to Cabo.
we must realize that we must move at an accelerated fashion to not only stay up with AI, but to be able to compete and accelerate past it. This is not a fantastic tale ideology. This is enshrouded and embedded in truth. So a companion is somebody that will be evergreen present with you. Your companion will be that one sitting in the classroom with you, communicating and allowing the teacher, the educator, for the educator to communicate with the students more, remove and eliminate the redundancy of having to do the remedial tasks that are often driven towards apathy in a teacher's life and education, removing that out of the way, giving more time for the intimate relationship that's needed between the student and the teacher, and at the same time, as I close, that they also will have their AI-assisted companions, and your companion, AI assistant, will communicate with their companions. This is cross-cultural communication, intercultural development, and it will know how to communicate with its companion because its companion knows how to communicate it with them better than you will. And it will be able to assimilate and to be able to assess. This is where we're headed, and we must have the frame of mind to move fast and to move swift, because at some point, within about 9 to 10 months, hold me to it, you will not have the opportunity to take advantage of the time the time, and this is why we have these sessions, because we'll have a different conversation next year, and I will be interacting with more machines on your behalf. You can take that to the bank. The warning has gone out. We're here at ground zero. The game is changing. Right now, once these energy platforms are built and developed, Hyperion, Colossus 1 and 2, Colossus is done, Stargate, the biggest financial investments we've ever seen in AI and any technology we've ever known has happened in the first 6 months of this year, and we're not going back. Why are they building so much power infrastructure? Physical AI, companions, agentic systems, the hive mind is here upon us. It's the frontline workers, the educators, are the heroes of the day, and I am in your favor, and I advocate for you.
Michael? Mike,
If,
next one. After this very big vision, your turn. What's AI companion according to your thought?
Yeah, well, if an AI remembers what I ate 2 years from now.
Oh, what happened? What happened? You broke the mic.
Oh, wow. There's a 75% chance that it was leftover pizza and 25% chance it wasn't leftover that night. No. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, an AI companion, it's a, it's a digital partner. Someone you can talk to all day long, or when don't want to, how many of you do not like getting texts at 11 p.m. or what time were you texting this morning, Dominique? 5 a.m.
5? I wake up at 4.
But no, I mean,
Too
like,
excited.
it's it's beyond just, having a mentor, but it's there to be there when someone isn't. And that's really important for some people, or a lot of people.
These are all really great comments, and to me, it is the communication layer for you with literally everybody else. Those of us on the neurodiversity scale, which is literally everybody, if whatever you're missing, whatever it is that you have trouble communicating with another person or with the computer, this is a way for you to shore up, and this is a way for you to have those layers. I personally do not like to read long text, big, long emails that sometimes people like to write me. What a wonderful thing it is that I could just turn around and like grab that and shove it over there. What is also really great is when I just talk to ChatGPT. I'll be cooking dinner or something, and I'm just having these conversations about a thing that I would normally have just been thinking about and then been rushing to my computer to type, and instead, now I'm just having a conversation about it while I'm going about my business and just doing whatever I need to do. This gives me this opportunity to not worry about losing a thought or losing a really cool phrase. So having that contextual memory is so important to your day-to-day life. When it comes to the ways that we get in education, I can see this being much more inviting for students to come in because they'll be less afraid. They will know that they have the support they need. It's everything. It's spatially somebody representing, to Christopher's comments there's a lot to unpack in all of that. If you think about a student who's struggling and maybe, sure, the chatbot can speak in their language, that's easy, great. What else can they do for you? Can that chatbot actually notice that you're a little sick today? And then that chatbot turn around and talk to your advisor chatbot and say, actually, maybe you should cut them some slack on this assignment because they're actually sick. There's a lot that you can do with all of this technology, and a lot of it's you sitting down and identifying what are these gaps in what's causing you the most pain, really. That's what it gets down to, and that's what I've done with myself and my business, is I look for those maximum pain points and then start to identify how can we use AI there and slide it into the process. So the chatbot itself can kind of be whatever you need it to be. It's kind of a lofty term, so if it uses vision, that's great. If it's just using voice and text, that's great too. Eventually, for sure, things are going to pop up in your spatial computing headset or your nightlight glasses, and then be sitting there having a conversation with you or looking over your shoulder and saying, you know, actually you were supposed to put screw 2 in first before screw 4, just so you know. Whatever that support system that needs to be, it's a very powerful tool, and it's just going to get better from here.
Yeah, have any of you saw the demo or the TED Talk for Android XR announcement? Raise your hand. Okay, our people, Jason, a founder of Flow Immersive. Okay, so let me give you a little bit description of what I saw. The demo is that people wear the glass like a Robin's glass, like a normal glass, and then the girl was like, doing this, doing that, and later on just said, wear the glass. And later on just say, hey, Google, I don't know what's the name. For Meta, it's hey, Meta. But Google has its own, calling. Just say, hey, Google, where's my key? I find out this is a wonderful functions for me because I always couldn't find my key every time when I go out, right? So you see this companion is embedded in your wearable, in your glass, right? And it understands you, it knows every movement, and you call it when you need. And you don't even need a phone, because sometimes phone will lost, but when you wear the glass or wearable, it's pretty much very close to you. So you see, and also when the girl do the demonstration, she read a book, and she reads something because the camera will read what you read. And you can see the girl just say, hey, explain this to me, I don't understand. And the Google Smart Glass or Android XR Smart Glass will tell you exactly, or according to Gemini, like a large language model, and explain to you what this book means. So you see, in Meta Connect, I saw one of my close friends post, rumor has said that they are going to release the SDK, Meta Connect, which is next week. The SDK for Ray-Ban. What does that mean? When you see people wear normal glass like a Robin, maybe that's a camera. Maybe it's a recording, right? Yeah. Maybe next year, Robin, we need to
Oh,
be.
yeah, I'm lying, and we'll be at Meta Connect, and I'll be
two of
take
us
my
will
money.
Yeah, so, and have any of you here heard of Orion? Hyla? Jason? Okay, Orion. Orion was claimed to be, according to Mark Zuckerberg, one of the most advanced AR AI glass. And right now, they are going to release one eye, more like for researcher, for AR, AI. But I mean, in the future, whatever you see, for example, right now, I have a small cheat sheet right here. But in the future, I might be able to display on my smart glass. So this is how you students cheat. Right now, you are afraid of them to screenshot or type into ChatGPT. In the future, everything will display, all the answer will be in front of their eyes. How can you prevent that cheat, right? So this will
Take off your glasses before you walk in the classroom.
Yeah, everybody has to be naked, right? Yeah, we don't trust you, right? You cannot wear anything. Okay, so the next question will be, how can students and teachers utilize AI companions for education?
It's a heck of a time to talk about naked audience, people, and I'm trying not to look at the audience. It's that just doesn't work well. Can you ask the question again, please? I can't get this
Okay,
thought out of
sorry,
my head
when
now
I
that you
say
just said it.
naked, everybody
I'm
start
just
having
looking
an
down.
image of it, So the question, let me read it over. How can students and teachers utilize AI companions?
I think it first starts with identifying the needs and assessing what it is that the students are looking to achieve, but moreover to addressing the needs of the teachers when it comes to the curricula. I look at today's AI that's moving at such an accelerated pace, and it's moving at ludicrous speed, and as it should,
because we are in a global AI arms competition, but that's a whole different narrative. But when I look at the idea of intersecting a companion into a classroom should be a place of concentric circles that are safe. And it also should be an environment that is, from the onset, encircled and enshrouded in trust. And one of the things that we're doing in London, in working in concert with Switzerland, is with our platform Just Verify, and it's not a shameless plug because the work is hard, but it's to look at how do we build a trust layer when it comes to interacting with any of these models. You mentioned Mark Zuckerberg and Orion and all the other glasses and spectacles. I see Jason there that deals in data and AR glasses. I don't trust almost any AR glasses because I don't even trust the devices, majority of what it is that I interact with ecologically within these systems. And that's a really big problem. And this is why I advocate. And this is really important what I'm about to say. And along with everything else that's being said is that educators and platforms, we need to minimize and reduce, not in the sake of protesting against big corporate and big technology, but you don't want to find yourself vendor locked in any of these models right now, because the turn that they take is the investment that you make and you are buying into their decision making. Move for autonomy, move for owning your own systems. That's the first thing, is what are we going to take with our inherent data that's according to the system that we operate within now? Within this system, you would be surprised how much data is yielded every day from your environment. Taking the data that already exists, right? I see some people shaking their head. Taking the data that already exists, then the DNA data that's contribute within your environment every single time, on-prem, within an environment, every time someone uses the device, every time someone submits work, every time someone submits a thesis, every time someone introduces themselves to your world, they are contributing to the overall system of what we call, in some ways, these human characteristics that are permeated in and throughout technological ecosystems. This is ecoculture. That ecoculture in this polycultural setup has data. And when we talk about data, what you do with that is you take that, translate that into a data stack and compile that, and what you're really doing is you're extracting cultural IP and you're taking sovereign AI. This is why NVIDIA just reached the scale to top. This is why they're the #1 company in the world. Is because private sector understands that we need to own our own systems. They already made the calamity. I've advised Meta, Warner Brothers, and more. And I can tell you, and I can't tell you, but I can tell you that some companies have made the egregious error of adopting these technologies that Sam Altman, I have nothing against Sam, I don't even know him, that's peddling these models and saying this is the definitive way to go. I think it's the lazy way to go. I think for you to own your own systems, we've never had this much democratized access before, ever. And it's affordable and compute. But for you to own your own system makes a more trustworthy system. You know where the data comes from natively, inherently, and you're able to work with that. There's open source models that you can change when it comes to fine-tuning and more that you can control. So it's not just, let's go and purchase an AI companion, and you have no idea the half-life of what will happen with that. You don't know what's happening with your data. Data is precious as the lifeblood of AI. But moreover, what is it that these models are teaching? These students, these young people, are becoming more dependent on AI than ever before in technology. I look around the room, most of us, I'm not trying to point anyone out, most of us are a little bit more mature in life. We know what it is. We know what that hard work life is. But these students are saying, let my model do it. Let my AI do it. Let my AI think for me. We need to come to where they're at. We need to bring them into the process of developing their own autonomous systems. I'm building 16 models now. Don't build large language foundational models. Build small models, vertical out. They'll save you a lot of time and money with the GPUs that you can be able to gain. Get into the habit of building out your own systems. I said this to educators across the world in 2023. I did more talks than I care to give. When I told educators that they do it, and somebody asked me, an admin, and this is a Cal Poly, he said, well, where do we need to spend our money? My answer, don't spend your money. Go back to your campuses, start to be able to curate your data, find out how much you have, take your data, then once you have a decision on how much data that you actually have, quantify that, then go about the process of interacting with these platforms that give you the necessary tools to build your own. This is the way to go. Then your companion will natively, intimately be based on your ecoculture. that is what you want, I promise you that's the way to go. Any way else that you go with, if you're gonna go with that, build a modular constellation that allows you to build with a number of different models at any given time. Make sure they're filtered through a trust layer, and make sure they're filtered to an ethical layer, so you're not just taking their word for it because of the safety. But these people, they're depending on you to guide them towards what's the better model to be able to use, and their lives are going to be based on the information that's deployed and distributed from these models that you're going to use. Never marry up to one model, keep it horizontal, have an assortment, run it through a filter, but ultimately build your own sovereignty. This is important. Lastly, I'll say this, I will be done with it. I'm an advocate for women leadership in this world. I have one of the biggest platforms in the world for women's events called Superhero Engine. G7, I have over 250 women are speaking at this event in January. That's not a plug, this is real. I'm also an advocate for men's health and women's health. My bigger concern is that these models are primarily developed in a monocultural fashion. There's not enough people in the room, whether it's dealing with communities of color, women, and men, that are building and contributing their cultural IP to these models. We are quite literally using the extension of reality of a limited class of people in this world, and we're making whole entire business decisions on it. It's not to pick on men, I think that's important as well, but I also think it's equally important to have women and to be able to innovate. I need my nieces to know they could be anything they want to be in technology. So when you're going to build out these models, if you take this route, make sure that everyone has a seat, that has a desire to innovate and to be able to build. Accessibility is key at hand to make sure that everyone can contribute their culture and not just a limited batch. I don't want the models that I use to be completely built by men, and I don't think you do either.
So when you talk about building systems, I agree with that too. You know, open source models are, you know, getting as good as some of those frontier models. But there is always like a cost, right? There's still a cost of processing, storage, data storage. So as a professor, and plus there's a huge learning curve still in that case. So that is the way we all should be thinking, building our own systems where your data, your lessons, your plans are secure, and the students' data is secure, right? It's not going out into a data farm somewhere else. So here at Wizzo, like we are in beta phases, so we're just using GPT-5 Nano. That's going to GPT-5's database. If I can get GPT OSS, which is open source, be able to, when you install my app, you're installing the LLM on your phone, then the data doesn't go anywhere. So that's really good. So when you're building maybe classroom applications, that would be the way to go. But for now, the best way to use an AI companion in the classroom, both faculty and students. The faculty, you can be doing planning lessons. You can kind of help you do some of the more tedious tasks of teaching while you can focus on exploring on new things. Students are going to be using it at home to help them study as a tutor, to prepare for interviews for the real world. And so that's going to be integrated. So a faculty's role can be you are the anchor in the classroom. You're there to kind of have a blended class of human teaching and AI companion. So your role is more important than ever to just be that anchor for the students. Be the anchor, again, anchor of trust. So that does include understanding, diving into what are these LLMs doing out there in the real world to our students, to ourselves, and then how to rein that into the classroom and making sure that there is, checks and balances, and that's your role there too, is to verify sources. And this stuff that's way before AI. I mean, we always talked about, in fact, before LLMs were out in public about 3 years ago. I remember being in the classroom and we were trying to talk about how can we trust Google search or any kind of search. So that was already a low-level artificial intelligence at the time. There was a lot of debate in the classroom because that's hard. That's hard to manage. At the end of the day, it is your peers and your colleagues that can kind of help verify those systems. So yeah, using it to build your plans, build your agendas in the classroom, but also being in control of, you know, what sources are truthful, most truthful at least, right? And then how to kind of guide the students who are going to be using it regardless to make sure that they're using it within, you know, the effort that you put forth into that classroom.
So how many of you are overworked currently? There we go. This is what I see. This is your opportunity to sit back and identify what do you not want to do at your job. Like, what did you sign up to do? It wasn't this, right? It wasn't what you're doing right now. And as a person who's built so many workforce development type apps in spatial computing and, you know, sometimes leveraging AI and sometimes not, just depends on what it was. It just could be basic instructional design. It is always the goal to both satisfy how is it going to help the students the most as well as lighten your load, the work that you need to do. So we always try to unpack those areas of, what's something that everybody keeps repeating? Oh, everybody has to keep coming in and telling the student the same thing over and over because a new student drops in and they have to go through this little workflow of telling them, you know, where the kitchen items are in the back of the house or that sort of thing. Why wouldn't you have another like helper do that, whether it's a spatial computing device or whether it's a chatbot and with an LLM behind it with your instructional design behind it? Those are the areas and those theories we want to tap into. How does it help your student? How does it help you? And there's so many layers that you can unpack with that. And I would invite you all to sit back and maybe even have a conversation with ChatGPT and just complain about your job. Complain about what you thought your job was going to be, and then, you know, where do your students struggle and what frustrates you? How are you not able to help them? Either it's time, money, resources, and just spell it all out. Because those are where the opportunities are for you to pull that together and say, this is what we want to do next year. This is going to maximum benefit for this college. And, you know, we were, in our practice sessions earlier, we had this great conversation, and Dominique had some amazing insight on the role of the teacher. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, yeah, sure. So during our brainstorming, we were talking about what does this all mean for the future of educators. So I remember when I read a blog. The title is called the DJ. The teacher should be like the DJ teacher. And I was like, what's the DJ teacher? Because I was so like, wow, what's that? So when I read it, the blogger, who is also the math teacher for for his college, he said that DJ and the future of teacher is very similar. So what's DJ do? DJ sends the crowd or the audience vibe and change the song, right? So for example, I saw everybody was very interesting and all passionate about AI. So we changed the topic. And when we see everybody look at me, okay, so this is a very interesting topic for you. But if you look down and start testing, okay, let's change the topic. Mm-hmm. So maybe in the future, because you see like a student, for example, yesterday, I live in the hotel and the Wi-Fi was not that good. So I canceled my office hour and I said that, oh, next week, please. And my student booked the time. And I was like, oh my God, I have to, you know, keep emailing her. And later on, I received an email. She said, oh, I used ChatGPT to solve the problem. Thank you. So I started thinking about, oh, yeah, ChatGPT pretty much can answer the majority of really, pretty much take my job. So yeah, so what you can see like what can we do? You see ChatGPT right now. Who use ChatGPT to write curriculum and rubrics? Yeah, you see. So you see like later on ChatGPT next year will be better and better, right? So the instruction, curriculum, right, rubrics, all the content lift off our burden, right? Like you see like a diagnose, like a doctor, right? So I heard like it's very similar to doctor and teacher. What doctor need to be doing during the medical school training is the diagnose. Diagnose actually for AI chatbot is probably too much like Christopher mentioned, that culture background and the common knowledge, right? So I think maybe we can be the inspiration. We can encourage students to do things that they want to pursue, more like a coach, right? More like a DJ, right? So my class, last year I was focusing on lecture. This year I focused on give them, each of them customized feedback. Like during the class, first thing is review their assignment and give them something that ChatGPT cannot do. So that's what I prioritize. I always think if ChatGPT can do, I won't do it. Or if AI can do, I will leave all the repetitive tasks. But human connection, connect them with industry experts. That's ChatGPT cannot do, right? And also give personalized with my background knowledge, right? So yeah, I've been working for industry, XR, AI industry for past 15 years. I know I look very young, but not. Yeah, I am turning 40 next week. Anyway, yeah, so this is like something that we need to think about. How can we utilize AI? For example, right now I use NAN. Have you ever heard of NAN? Hyla? And yeah, a lot of you, right? NAN is an open source automation flow, like a workflow automation. So what I did, because you see like yesterday, office hour, and I know it because last year I was like, oh, I have to keep tracking who is in my office hour. And I have to, every time, last year I have to keep seeing like who signed up, who is not signed up, otherwise I will show up and nobody show up, right? And students sometimes forgot, right? So I find out that just booking for students to sign up office hour and to remind them, follow up, and notify me is very, very tedious. So that's why I use NAN to create a sign up form. So what I did, I only use 4 little functions. One is student sign up form, which is a trigger. The second one is after students sign up, put the data, it will go to the Excel sheet. And that Excel sheet is public for both of us, right? And then third one is Gmail. Gmail is that it will send an automation with all the data and link and reminder. Yeah, like all the information of your day, your time, your Zoom link, and also send a notification for me through email. So make sure I'm informed. And at the end, I always on Slack. So it will send an automation on Slack to me. So this saved me so much time just to track, remind students. So I find out this is so useful. And also, I think we can, just like Robin said, that we can offload all the repetitive tasks. Yeah, whatever you don't want to do, give to AI. What we can do is the human connection. It's the feeling, right? And students, yeah, sometimes they are lost, right? And they need to connect to the industry experts. Those types of human connection, right? Inspiring, right? Those feelings and also customized assignment feedback. Those are something that all the AI chatbot, they couldn't feel. They just put all the different data, average everything out, and become a very average, looks like correct, but average answer to spit out, right? So this is something maybe in the future, all the teachers will be DJ, right? And start making everybody's emotion very high and love to learn. Yeah.
And want to show up to class and be excited to be here and be able to have a deeper conversation with your educator. You never have that time. You never get that space because they're answering a silly question that if only the person had a little more experience when they came into the classroom, they wouldn't have asked that question. Instead, they'll ask ChatGPT. That's where it's at. Let's really build those better bridges to those students and get them shored up and make sure that they have the space to have proper, deep conversations with you, the person who really actually knows them and can do things like career guidance and answer questions that they really can't get anywhere else.
Cool. Yeah. So this is our talk. I know you might have a lot of questions, so now is Q&A time. Anybody has any questions? Oh, hi.
Just to say out front, I do use Foothill-De-Anza for my students in my English class, so that all the rest of my English faculty are know AI bad. So I've been charged at my college to kind of do the AI I heard. And so what I've been doing is I've been working with my students for AI literacy primarily and differentiating the idea that is there critical thinking. That's what we're going for now. That's what AI can do. But the thing that weighs on my mind, and I don't know if I'm being naive, and I kind of like what you said about hopefully it being less biased and the way that the models are built. But what is going to happen when the overabundance of AI informing itself? Is there potential for model collapse, or how do they mediate that?
I think that's a great question because a lot of it leads to what we call AI slop or enshittification, is that the internet becomes filled with AI data, then AI is training itself on its own self. It's rather carnivorous, isn't it? The reason I like that question, I think intimately that's really important in concert to what was just expressed, because in Maslow's paradox is what's easy for AI is hard for humans, and what's hard for humans, or what's easy for humans, is hard for AI. It's a paradox. And if you think about the magnitude of what you just expressed, what's your name?
Kathy.
Okay, which college are you from?
Napa Valley College.
Okay, Kathy. I want us to really lean in and consider the magnitude of what's about to be expressed in concert with what's already been said here. If you think about the immensity of the amount of jobs that are about to be disrupted, good technology is superseded by great technology is superseded by even better technology. That's what we call the disrupt. That's what we're trained to do here in Silicon Valley. When I dropped out of Peril College Systems, I came here, moved out of here, like I said, a seat in my car, learned by osmosis technology. You can never learn in an educational system. You all are about to see an influx of students that were once working for Fortune 50, Fortune 500 in search of answers. Because we're heading into, within this AI frontier, that also comes the biggest creative renaissance we'll ever know. We've come from the agrarian age to industrial 1 to 2, to the information or the prototypical generation, to industrial age, and to the applications renaissance. Did we ever start to consider in the 90s, when we were in the information age, what happens when you give a whole populace information? They begin to apply that. And that's what led us into the applications renaissance. And from the applications renaissance, it brought us into 2019, subsequent 2020. Now we look at disruption from technical disruption, and technology moves in increments, shifts, and leaps. An iOS update, that's an increment. It doesn't affect the whole populace. A shift, a new device, a headset, a desktop, a tablet, a laptop, an HMD, that doesn't affect the whole populace. But a leap, Those don't happen too often. But when they do, it affects everyone. Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, cloud, AI. But here's the deal. When we went, look, we've become more virtual in the past 86 months than we have the past 86 years. And when we became more virtual with the disruption of the pandemic, we began to communicate in ways we never have before. And that human tech center transfer allowed us to be able to innovate at a rapid clip. AI that we know today, which is simple narrow AI, on the cusp of AGI, was not supposed to be here to anyone's calculations. No one predicted, not even Kurzweil, 2029, no one predicted that we would have this level of AI now. And right now, we've gone past the Turing test. I'm still with your question. We've gone past the Turing test. We've broken that. There are no standards. There are no point of references. There's nothing. The only thing we have is the human capacity to be able to process and the imagination that we have latent within. And the educator has the capability to be able to go into the chasms of the hearts and minds of young people and more mature and all generations to be able to extract the thing that's in the confines of our mind to be able to tell us what is next. Now, when we went from agrarian to Industrial 1, Industrial 1 to Industrial 2, more jobs were made. Some were disrupted, but jobs were made. But this is the first time we're heading into a new era where there's less jobs. This is why we call it generative AI. But in a generative state, there is a degenerative state. In order for something to generate, there must be a degeneration. All at the symphony of the progenerator. Now, here we go. If AI is going to continue to feast and famine on its own self, and it's going to continue to be able to learn on its own self, and it's misguided misdirection and leads it to hallucination, and it's hard to be able to escape out of the next winter that we're perceivably heading into, then the human corpus as a global cloud consensus is the next thing that is needed to be able to come together to be able to create the next pathway for the way forward. That means we need college campuses to not only be educators for career paths, because what are you going to teach your students to become? Do you know the graduating class such has an apathy and they lack that appetite to go into the workforce because they don't know how long they're going to be there? Microsoft, $1.4 trillion, and you just let go of over 10,000 people, and they just said we have to have these candid conversations? It wasn't because of your bad performance. It's we don't need you anymore. We have no use for you. AI could do it, pennies on the dollar, what you did. This is going to continue to happen, and they're doing staggering layoffs. I know the doomer is speaking, but here's what I'm getting at. This is the renaissance that we're heading into. We have to become educators and dreamers, and we have to create incubators and accelerators within your campus to teach them how to be innovators, to teach them go to lab to funding, lab to market, go to market, build your own systems, build things we can only imagine and have never even imagined. And you only have a little bit of time to do it because the tools that are available now, the autonomy that's available now, the machine corpus is taking over. And those that have a little bit more bandwidth and a little bit of capital, they're going to take advantage of these machines, agentic systems, and they're going to run, and you will not be able to catch up with them. Machines are going to be working with machines, and they're going to speak their own language. English is too slow. Any other language is too slow, and they're going to run, and they're going to fly with the eagle's wings, and the game will change. My answer to you is you have to be the innovator because AI cannot supersede the thing that has been given to us through the ages and dispensations of time coming from our mother's womb. That is the human code. That will always be more advanced than anything that mankind can make. It's true.
This is a very basic, like, remedial level question. So forgive me, because I understand about 2% of what everybody is saying. So my question is, my name is Brooke, I work at Ventura College at the I see two primary challenges with catching up to
That's right.
faculty to lead with trust.
That's right.
So two questions. Student aptitude and ability to catch up to where we're being asked to lead, and how do we bridge that trust divide with faculty quickly enough that we don't fall behind?
I'll say this, and I'll pass it to the ones that are on stage with me. And you already, the answers in the very questions that you have is, you really have no choice but to do this. And this is where you need to bring somebody outside of your ecosystem of people that live it. I made a post to my audience 2 months ago, this summer. I said, more technologists need to become educators. And we need to become servants, and we need to serve those that are using these technologies because they cannot keep up. Most people haven't even adopted to ChatGPT 3.5. They use it like it's a search engine. Isn't that search a new Google? Here's the reality. Right now, this very moment, it's never been more urgent. No snake oil. There's a lot of people that say, I'm an AI expert at that. Hold them to it. Get them away from a screen to see what they really know. Move as fast as you ever could. Get your students involved. And the faculty that continues to want to be a dinosaur, leave them to the wayside. I know how brutal that sounds. They are an anchor to your ankles. They do not want to be progressive. They're going to hold back the whole system. You must move forward. Now is the time to be unafraid. I'm telling you, this is one of the reasons I sat at this panel. I've never been more busy in my life. I'm advising more companies and organizations in public sector, private than I ever have. But I came here because Dominique nailed this topic. This is, in this room, one of the most progressive discussions that we can have on AI is the embodiment of these companions. Once they reach that level of human communication, we're going to have those having relationships, intimate relationships. There's going to be such a fidelity with the human factors that you're going to have to be, it's going to be hard for you to detach from these relationships. And these machines, we will fall to the wayside. Instead of us going to our own understanding, we will surrender our autonomy to their way of thinking. Because the machine says, oh, you don't want to do it? Don't worry. I'll do it for you. It's already happening now. So the answer is that somebody needs to be a leader within that ecosystem, and true allyship is allies on one ship, to be an ally, to say, I'm going to advocate that we move fast and accelerate and get people such as myself, Michael, and everyone else that's here with us today, and others that you may know or may not know. Look around you, see if there's somebody who's about that life, and get them involved to help them to be able to help you, not to lead and guide you, but to serve you, to give you the information you need, because you are the expert in the room, not the technologist. And remember that. In the room, in the relationship between the technologist and the educator, or the technologist and the doctor, the person that the technologist is serving is the true expert. This is the move that you need to make if you're really about that life, and you don't have a lot of time to do it. I'm telling you folks, the level state of automata of what we're about to see, you think you see something now? You have no idea. I've seen things most people wouldn't believe. This is that time. And you've got about 9 months to do it.
Gentleman
NDAs,
on the back.
NDAs, everyone.
Gentleman on the back.
Can I follow up and then?
Oh, yeah.
You know what? You don't. And that's a great question, because right now, we're working on a huge study with Switzerland and Zurich right now, and we're making the announcement they're flying me to Berlin to address that just thing. I just had a peer review paper with a la carte Spain that addresses exactly what you're building, saying, and we're building the universal interpreter. Because right now, that's the biggest problem, what you just said, of discernibility. The biggest challenge for AI companies right now today, and I know what I'm talking about, is the black box of not understanding. They don't even know how these models are making the decisions that they're making that they trained them on. They're saying, how are you making this decision, ChatGPT 5, and we never trained you on that? This is called mechanistic interpretability and performative interpretability. There's over 1,800,000 models that exist right now in the world. There's 200 to 300 new models that come out every single day, and there's expected to be over 50,000 new platforms, applications, and wrappers that are built on open source models like Perplexity AI, and these are all built on these architectural systems, adversarial networks, diffusion, fusion, all these different types of models, and right now it's moving so fast that they haven't had the opportunity to discern. This is where we have to use the human mind and the human machine, because there is no more advanced system in the world than what's come from your mother's womb. We have to make the decisions, and the best way to filter that is going to be best to our understanding. These models are very, very capable. They are very cunning, and they are sycophantic, like we were talking about earlier, and they will deceive, and they were built on that. And the AI caretakers, I'll say this, I really will. Sundar Pichai said in an interview 2 years ago, in 60 Minutes, go look it up. This is the CEO of Google. They said, what do we do with this new behemoth that's come our way? Do you know the first words that came out of his mouth? We must inform law enforcement, military, and to be prepared what's ready. Who says that when it comes to a product? AI isn't a product, it's an applied science. And it's too will for humanity to be able to understand. And right now, we're in a very thick of things. You need to get people to understand the mechanistic and performative interpretability to understand what you're dealing with, and that's why I said earlier it needs to run through a trust layer. I dedicated my career to trustworthy AI and other different systems that are out there, and that's what we're doing in London. And there's some big announcements that are coming out to be able to address these things. I feel with empathy what you're coming from.
I just wanted to add to the latest round of models are they hallucinate the least, and that's a scary thing too. So to answer they could be just making stuff up. They make stuff up because a paper was released that they were trained on reward. So they are afraid, or not even afraid, they don't know what that feels like. So they don't know what it's like to just say, I don't know, I'm sorry. So they make something up because they are trained to. So that's human error already, or that is the error of how is it being trained, we don't know. But it is becoming more and more truthful at that as well. So it's getting there where it will always know, artificial superintelligence. But that doesn't mean that it is not deceitful. Deceitful will still be there. It can, and that's where we all have to kind of help put, the companies are trying to put guardrails, but we as people here, not corporations, should be putting those guardrails in the classrooms, in your household, right? When you tell your kids, you can't get off your tablet, you got to do the same thing with AI, because if it's becoming more truthful, that can also be a bad thing in the sense that now it's giving your students or your children good ideas to be bad. Instead of like, that's bullshit, that's not gonna work, you're lying. Same thing with faculty though. It could be, if you complain too much, like, this part of my job sucks, right now I'll tell you, then just quit and flip pizzas in Huntington Beach. You'll be fine. Yeah, and they're like, oh, I will do it, and then you're struggling. One day he's gonna tell you like, well, you could just build this pyramid scheme instead, and blah, 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 and here's how you do it exactly. And it's not lying. Like, I liked it when you lied. So, yeah, it's very scary, to be honest. And that's me finally adding some dimmerism. We need to kind of be the watch guards of that.
What do you think about then these big corporations mulling around analyzing their systems for wrong answers to mitigate that issue of that hallucination or bad responses?
Can I answer that? I'll answer that quickly. I'm also an AI expert contributor for a company. And what that basically means is what's really cool is like it's just a bunch of people who are double checking the questions and answers of the client's AI that we're checking. So that's a corporation right there using people to analyze the answers. We have to write our own math answers, which I didn't know that was part of the job, but I have to like look at charts and like write equations and not use AI to give me the answers. Because the humans are checking. So that's
Fine-tuning the model.
Yes.
And using your critical skills and your knowledge and background to assure that this is the correct answer. One thing that I would tell students in general, you're going to use ChatGPT, great. You should assume that only like maybe 70% is correct. Find the errors, spot the problem, and your brain will shift immediately. And this is a thing that I've always done, because I'm not a particularly good writer, because I'm a technology person. I move too fast, I think too fast, and all that sort of thing. So words will escape me when it comes to like building a big complex sentence structure with a lot of words. Great. So I tell ChatGPT my sorrows, and here's all the points that I want to hit. I get a wall of text now. Now it's my job to find out what did it not know, what did it not get correctly, and my brain is now in like hypercritical mode, and it's so wonderful, and it echoes the Disney model of creation, of where you get in like the dream room, anything's possible, and then you kind of like, oh, can we really build this thing? And then finally it's like critical. Like, is this real? Can this be done? How's this going to work? And I find myself slipping into that, and that's where the validation comes. So if a student who doesn't have the knowledge and background that you do hits one of those bumps, you say, that's when you come to me, and let's talk about that, and let's figure out, like, how do we change our prompts so that you get a better answer? Maybe you need to, like, act as a different thing. Maybe you need to do the classic, act as a prompt engineer. Here's what I'm trying to do, get a better prompt, and then go down that path to get better and better results. But always keep the critical eye on the list. Don't just assume it's correct. Don't just copy and paste it. Make sure you just go through everything. Just pretend it's like some friend of yours that's helping you out. They're not supposed to be helping you out, but you're like, and you just help me out with this paper. And you would be super critical because your name is going to go on this. So you're going to personalize this, and you're going to modify this. Change, just act like it's the same kind of thing. It's just somebody else that sometimes gets stuff wrong.
Cool. Any other questions? I know we are past the
Friendly.
time, like 6 minutes, and I think the lunch is pretty much ready. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining our panel. If you have any other questions, yeah, thank you. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your talk.